Hey, this is Brian. This is the Onto Something podcast, a sports media podcast that supersedes just the working world, where I bring on guests and they share their personal lives as well. Orly Silver set to join me, sports media executive. Hope you enjoy this rendition of the program. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to comment as well. Well, a lot of you know that at this point, I've had hundreds of guests on. And with all of that said, nobody has had as cool of a backdrop as Orlando Silver has. And he joins me today. He, of course, is Vice President of Production Content Strategy at PrimeTime, has been a sports media executive for quite some time. He's a family man as well. And he joins me. I'm Bryan Fenley on, yes, the On to Something podcast. We're going to go through his life, learn about his run through the industry, but also the personal side as well. And Orlando, first of all, thanks so much for being a part of this. I want to know, to be able to design the set behind you, how did you do that and how much time did that take?
Well, first of all, Brent, thank you for the invitation. I love this project. I love what you're doing. It's great for the business. We're more comfortable always behind camera, so I guess when we get these small windows to be in front of the camera, you gotta, represent what you do, what you're passionate about. I love sports. I love the industry, so it can be that little webcam or a GoPro or your iPhone or a $80,000 Varicam. It doesn't matter. You got to just make it look good. It took me, I don't know, 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I'm here in my it's a content room that we have here at Prime Time. So we get our thinking caps going and we just create fun, unique, different, content. So it took me 20 minutes, I would say.
Your thinking cap is always going on. And if you look at all the
Yeah.
things that you've done in your career, the thinking cap is a big reason why you've had that success. If we were to sort of dive into what your brain is like as it's thinking, as it's forging new ideas, how would you put into perspective the way your brain works uniquely?
Yes, you know what? And it's something that people that know me personally that have, I guess, seen the Orlando Silver of 28 years of working in the television industry, you mature, you grow, but I think there's a part of your brain that you don't see. You don't see a broadcast, you don't see a concert, you don't see things the way the regular a normal person would see it. And I think it's just there's a creative part of my brain that's constantly thinking like, what, how would you do it? How would you do it differently? What is the consumer, the audience, what are their tendencies and how do you talk to them? How do you get ahead of the game? So I think that's something that I'm not good at numbers. I'm not good at I only kind of focus on what I attracts me and I go all in. So it's a unique way of I guess you develop this creative process that it's draining sometimes because you're constantly orchestrating and putting together these big events and then you're just like you feel like it just something hits you because all these creative juices are just going full throttle and I guess you just gotta enjoy it. I'm passionate about what I do every single day that I do and I thank my brain for giving me this gift.
And your brain was exposed to the industry at a very young age. You
Yeah.
essentially, we were talking before the interview here, essentially you have grown up in the industry, and to have that background, how does that facilitate your passions in a way that's unique because you grow up in something and now you're a big part of it yourself?
Yeah, you know what? I'm fortunate. I tell all the young people, it doesn't matter. I'm fortunate. I have a father who I consider is my hero. He's my, my mentor, my best friend. Another person that paved the way for a lot of Hispanics, Latinos in the U.S. and in Mexico. He's fostered and discovered many talents, and I knew that I wanted to follow his footsteps. And then just growing up in control rooms and satellite trucks and studios, in this whole industry, I always knew that I wanted to be a part of it, and it just came natural. I didn't have to look for a part-time job. Fortunately, I didn't really I haven't worked at any other thing but the business in different branches. So nothing has been, given to me. I've gone through every single step and every single branch of this business to get to where we're at. Where is that? I don't know. After COVID, everything's kind of loose. But it's unique, and I feel fortunate. I think it's just a matter of being consistent. Being passionate. I had a great conversation with my daughter yesterday, and I said, hey, all I'm telling you right now that they're 23 and 24 years old is just be passionate, dedicate yourself 100% at what you're doing, and pay your dues, and the success and the money and everything will follow along. But just wake up every day happy, saying I love my life, I love what I do, and this is my passion, and I'm going to go all in. you know
How receptive are your kids to what you're saying?
oh, they're you know what, it's been a ride. They're my best friends. They are unique, bicultural, bilingual human beings that were born here, but their Mexican roots are really, really instilled in them, just like my parents. We came to this country when I was 7 years old, and I am truly bicultural, bilingual, and I'm sure that it's opened a lot of doors because I understand how the consumer, how the audience, how they work on both sides of the border. There's a wall that divides us, but there's a connecting tissue that's just consistently connected, and it will be like that forever. So, what do we have to do, Brian? We just have to get the best of both worlds. There's so many good things coming out of these countries that we just need to embrace it. And a clear example was this event that we had in October, where 86,134 people witnessed a friendly soccer game at the Rose Bowl. Just seeing the cultures and seeing the power of unity in sports is just, I'm blessed. I'm fortunate that I was part of it, and my daughters are embracing this massive, I guess, movement.
You just told me that you're not good with numbers, but then you just named off a number to the T,
Yeah.
86,000 something, something,
Well,
something.
yeah.
I think you might want to go back and reconsider what
Right.
your thoughts
Yeah.
are and what you actually can do in the world of numbers. And I want to throw another number at you. You said 7 was when you moved here. What do you
Yeah.
remember from your childhood in those first 7 years of your life?
You know what? I remember opportunity. I remember meeting my American family here from my grandmother's side. There was other Silvers here that I never met, and I saw the opportunity. Mexico was great. I was young. I was 5, 6 years old, as far back as I remember. I just remember the family, the culture, the traditions. But when I came here, I just saw the massiveness of this country, right, and everything. So I just remember my dad said, "Hey, we came here for a dream. We came here to teach you guys, number one, another language, and so that you guys can just have more tools to life." And he always said, focus. He gave us absolutely everything, Brian. But he just said, just be a good person, be a good son, and be a good student. And just it's. I always tell my daughters and everybody this thing. You remember that movie Scarface?
Of
The world is
course.
yours. The world is yours, right? That's what I thought. I said the world is yours, but I made a little change. I said, you want it, go get it. Right? The world is yours. You want it, go get it. And that's what I tell everybody. It's like, look, it's here for you to take. Be consistent, be humble, pound hard, and it's in a beautiful country like this, it's everything's possible.
Your work ethic must be insanely impressive in
Yeah.
you explaining the idea of what it takes as a go-getter.
Mhm.
What does it look like sitting next to you in a production meeting or putting those creative juices together to really exemplify how hard of a worker you are? And again, Orlando, you're not just doing this for yourself. You're doing this for your family. You're doing this for your
Yeah. Yeah.
production team. This is not just a you. This is about all of the people around you who mean the most to you.
Yeah. You know what? I'm a visual guy. I'm a very visual guy. I see things. I have to consistently write them down. So if you know me, there's always two notepads, a whiteboard, and I'm consistently visualizing it. And it's something that just kind of grows in you, Brian. I think it's kind of, I always say this, and it's probably exaggerated, to the highest level of exaggeration. But before I get to a broadcast, before I get to a stadium, a venue, anywhere, I already saw what was going to happen the night before and the nights before. I envisioned it. And I can tell you, carrying a camera on my shoulder it became an extension, another arm of me, and seeing it, the viewfinder for so long, that you develop this vision of what temperature the light is going to be, how you have to balance it with the temperature that's coming out the window, the framing. You just envision it. So when you get there, you just put this visual, this the scene that you had nights before in action, and then it's like, yeah, that's exactly how I envisioned it. So I'm a very visual guy. I write everything down because I have probably a short-term memory, but I'm just writing it down, and then I just put it into I just put it into use, and it's there, and it's exactly most of the time how I envisioned
Wow. So when you write stuff down, what does that look like? Like, are
it.
you
It's just to
drawing
do's.
designs or are you just taking
Nope, just
notes?
taking notes. My boss here, Fernando Orbañanos, is probably one of the most creative, most original and unique dudes. And I'm like, he's like me actually, because we just talk, and then he comes into my room, and as soon as he walks in, I'm just writing everything down because he's just a genius. And I'm like, I want to extract all this information from him. He's been running this company for 20 years. I'm like, that's why he's such a freaking because he just blasts this knowledge, and I'm just writing everything down and then I forget, Brian, and he comes back and he tells me, hey, no, I told you that. I'm like, and then I look at my notes and he was right. He's just, I guess we're very visual. We just write everything down so that we don't lose it. We don't lose these ideas that can turn into something big, because those small ideas sometimes are the ones that really make a difference.
You're really onto something there, and I wonder why I named that the title of this podcast.
Nice. Love
But
it.
not to pub myself too much. With everything you're writing down,
Hmm.
how much do you remember? Like when you look at your memory,
Hmm.
what do you find that is mostly or you trend towards storing in your memory bank more than something else based upon we have a finite amount of space
Yep.
in our brain to collect information?
Brian, that's a great question, and it's brought me a lot of problems in my life, and a lot of victories, and I'll tell you why. Um, I can go to the store, and they can tell me, "Hey, Orly, bring some eggs, milk, and OJ," and I'll bring back celery juice, cheese, and tomatoes. My brain, when it's not in production, or in I'm just boom. It attracts me. I am zeroed in. But everything outside of that, I am so distracted. I don't remember where I park. I'm just all over the place. so it's it's I'm consistently driven to where what I'm passionate about. I think it's something that brought me a lot of a lot of problems, but at the same time, I'm just programmed that way. I just think that I'm a pretty unique person that just, I guess it's good, right? It's good and bad to have this and these feelings.
Where do you find the beauty though in those shortcomings? You can't remember where you parked, all of these things. What is the beauty in that? Because so often I hear, Orlando, those who are power players in this industry or other industries
Yep.
where their mind is so centrally focused on the task
Yeah.
at hand that they have the same character traits as you. They can't
Hmm.
remember what they had for breakfast this morning.
No. Yeah. Yeah. It's unique. I think we're just constantly. Oh, you grow in the business, right? You grow in the business. I always tell people, as you grow in that year, it's not going to get any easier. It's going to be more challenged, right? I never say problems, issues, concerns. I don't like that. I don't mind people saying, writing an email problems and concerns and issues and this. I just say challenges. Look, it's like we're making television, right? We're making television. We are not sending rockets into space. We're just entertaining people, right? And I think people that have similar traits, where we're consistently, creating and orchestrating these productions, or being part of a production with other people that have similar traits as you, is fantastic, because when it all comes together, you have so many personalities, like you on air talents, right? We don't need three top of the line, like, wow, but we need chemistry, we need balance, right? So that's exactly what we do off camera, right? When we're putting these events together, we need people that have different traits, because that's where the magic happens, right? We can have the best producers and the best directors and the best crew. We need a little bit of everything, ages, some diversity, some inclusion, something that just gives it that different look, and it's like, oh wow, okay, I like what they did, and you kind of follow along that line to be different, stand out from the rest. So to us that kind of have this trait, it's just natural, and it comes with time, and you build it, year after year, you're just building it, and it just becomes part of you.
That it has. Orlando Silver is with me. I'm Bryan Fenley, and you've mentioned so many interesting things about your perspective on the industry and what you've learned about yourself through this process. And when you have say a broadcast with so many different people from so many different backgrounds,
Yeah, yeah.
how does the viewer notice that on screen?
I think the way you paint the screen, there's a saying in Spanish, como pintas la pantalla, right? How is your broadcast going to be different from all the others, right? I had an opportunity of working, probably one of I've done many sporting events. My specialty soccer, but I've done all sorts of different World Series, Super Bowl, Grammys, Oscars, you name it. I've been part of whatever. And one of the biggest challenges was Super Bowl 54 in Miami with Fox, right? It was the first time that we kind of, at least to my knowledge, Fox Deportes and Fox Sports really worked hand in hand. I have some amazing colleagues there that we proved to them that the Latino division of Fox was up to par with everything that they were doing. Maybe in the years past, it's something that my predecessors had been working on, but my 5 years there were amazing. In that Super Bowl Miami, Bryan, I felt that it was a monster that I wasn't going to be able to control. I said, you know what, for the first time, I think I'm going to be able to really really do it. Now, here we are, bilingual, Hispanic producers, directors, producing a Super Bowl in Miami, where Fox is giving us all this technology. They're giving us all the bells and whistles you can imagine. We took over South Beach, and we started cutting cameras. We started doing things outside the box. We started painting the screen in a different way. And even the cameramen were just like, hey, this is not what we do in English. What do you mean you want me to do that, Chuck? I'm like, yeah, I want my host to come from the desk, and he's going to walk down. You're going to follow him the whole time, and he's going to talk. And we just started painting the camera different, and the screen different, and started playing with different angles. Maybe not so structured as American television is, because Latinos there's always a party, right? they're always dancing, and it's always loud, and so I began, and I remember looking over my shoulder and seeing my Fox English counterparts, just like, oh, I like that. And then it was a great comment to say, hey, Fox Deportes is using our set in a way that we would never use it, and I like it. I was like, it worked. So going back to being different and unique and having this diversity and inclusion in a broadcast, it wasn't a soccer game, right, or a boxing event. It was a football game where my 49ers lost, but it was a way of really giving it that. You had Shakira, you had J-Lo, you had Miami. I think I would have failed if I didn't give it this flavor, this spice, and I was fortunate enough to work with some amazing people, and it was a success. It was a complete success.
You went into that objective of being there in Miami
Mm-hmm.
for the Super Bowl, and you said it was like a monster
Oh,
undertaking.
it was huge.
So that can be, and I'm not speaking for you, but when
Mm-hmm.
there are humongous projects like that, there has to be, in some instances, it's intimidating. It's like,
Oh yeah,
how are we going to do this? How
yeah,
many people is it going to take? How are we going to be able to pull this off? Everything that goes into this can be very stressful, the lead up.
yep.
So the delegation process for you in cutting through all of the nitty gritty to that, you take a far-fetched concept that seems
Mm-hmm.
impossible to attain.
Yeah,
How are you able to kind of splice it up and make it doable?
yeah, yeah. You know what? My dad was an air traffic controller, right? He was the head of the air traffic control tower in Mexico City. An air traffic controller has one of the most stressful jobs in the world, right? My dad never stresses. He never has a headache. He was like I mentioned, a mentor to me. He's a legend in the TV business, and he never stressed. He just, you know, he said, you build your team. You surround yourself by people that are passionate like you. You trust them. You have to trust them. And the more you grow and the more you face this, Brian, it wasn't a three-headed monster. It was a 10-headed monster. I was I was complete. I just saw my email blasting. I had so many technical questions from everybody. And I said, for the first time in my life, and I'm going to be honest, and I've never said this, and I've mentioned it to colleagues, for the first time in my life, that was probably 25, 26 years into this career, I said, I'm going to fail. It's going to be the first time in my life where I'm going to be humble. I think this project is bigger than it took me a year to plan. I surrounded myself. I had a big budget. I had a big, nice, solid budget. But for the first time, I think this event is bigger. And I've done 5 World Cups and I've done all sorts of events. Just the massiveness of the Fox muscle was gonna surpass me. So I remember talking to now the executive director of production, Enrique Lozano, who's there at Fox. I remember just he was there with me. We had Fernando Vega and different people all over LA and Miami. I remember just grabbing him on the shoulder and I said, "Look, do me a favor. You're directing this tomorrow. Turn your phone off. Yeah, don't worry about it. Oh man, we got this." I just remember telling him those pep talks that my dad used to tell me when I was nervous for a minute. I said, just like Joe Montana, right? The drive versus the Bengals. He's looking up at the stands and he's like, "Hey, John Candy's up on the stands." I don't know if you're familiar with that story where he's not even focused on the 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter to score the catch, right?
Yeah.
And I just remember telling Enrique, just, yeah, we're good, man. I was like, inside of me, I was just about to break down. I was like, we're good, buddy. We're good. Yeah, just go to your room. He's like, "Hey, Orly, what's going to happen?" I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll be fine. And then I just gave them the assurance. I gave everybody, guys, we got this. And sure enough, that we broke the set in because Kobe passed away that Sunday. And we broke the Fox set in South Beach. It looked amazing. And most of the Fox shows were during the day, so we broke it at night. And South Beach was popping, and it was just booming. And I said, "Wow, that looks pretty! And look at all the talent and the production." We had a plan, and it just escalated, and it peaked at the right time, so that when Super Bowl, Sunday ended, we peaked at the right time. We didn't peak too soon or too early, right on time. And I just said, okay, well, this is another test that I was able to surpass, like many challenges that we face in the business, and I just gave everybody the confidence and supported them and wished I never told them, I don't scream, I don't yell, I don't, I'm demanding because I'm strict on myself. I'm not a perfectionist, and I think there's a certain level of there's flaws, right? But there can't be something that's crucial. That we got to control what we can control and what we can't. It's outside of our hand. Whether something security, that sort of stuff, I kind of throw into the table. But what we can control and how we prepare, there's no excuse why we can't execute.
So you said that there was this thought that it might not work, that there was
Mm-hmm.
this failure that could be there.
Yep.
And the perception though of failure in the
Mm-hmm.
industry,
Yeah.
it there can be a negative connotation, but
Yeah.
can you also see, and how would you see it as maybe not as negative of a connotation, considering like you're trying new things? Maybe not everything sticks. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, for you, it did. But
Yep.
is there a wrong stigma about failure in the industry that you notice?
Yeah. Yeah. There is, and I think it's unfortunate. It is. I think you just need to be, you need to continue, learn. If you make a mistake, you fall, right? You get up. We're making television. I think there's decisions that we make sometimes, Ryan, that are not ideal. We have to trust our instinct. We have to trust our colleagues. We have to give them the confidence. We have to sometimes go with the direction that they're pulling you. And if it's not optimal, it's okay. You learn, right? I think as you grow, and I think, like I mentioned, I remember pulling cable, and before I was able to grab a Betacam SP, an $80,000 camera on my shoulder, my dad punished me for 2 years without me really doing it. And maybe the first time I put a camera on my shoulder, maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it wasn't And my dad just said, "Hey, great job," but I know it wasn't perfect. But he gave me the confidence to say, "Hey, you didn't fail right off the bat." He gave me the confidence so that I can continue to grow and grow and grow, and then you make better decisions. You shoot better, you edit better, you light better, you write, you direct, you produce, and then it's consistently. But I think a lot of us, that like the rest of the world and the industry after COVID, right? We thought that that was it. We thought that we were reinventing ourselves, we're being positive, but the world changed, the industry changed, and yeah, a lot of us probably thought that, hey, this is probably going to be a big, maybe not failure, but a big change in the way we make television. Because look at us now, we're doing this. Look how beautiful this set looks and how your set looks, and we're on Zoom. We're embracing this technology in a way that we would never thought would be uh, a tool that we would use.
There have been a lot of alterations, and it always seems to me, Orlando, those who look ahead and are able to notice trends before they happen are best suited
Yeah,
for what oftentimes can be unforeseen changes. You yourself have done a great job. A lot of other people who have come on with me have also been able to tap into what they think is going to happen in the future, and then kind of be somewhat of a fortune teller. And
yeah,
if if you go back to those early days and you're lugging around that $80,000 camera and you're hoping for your dad's approval,
yeah, yeah,
the idea of you growing up and not just doing that now and having a lot more responsibility in the industry, but to still feel like there is that desire for dad's approval.
yeah,
How even at this stage of the game for you do you see
yeah.
that playing out in your life?
Yeah, um, I just want to continue to make him proud. I get broken up every time I talk about him because he's a guy that it didn't exist in his language, in his vocabulary. He never said no. I talk to him. I talk to him now. He comes back and forth between Mexico and LA, and I want to just hear him, and he says the right words. He says the right words, the right things that just give me a sureness, and they give me that approval that I want. Sometimes it's never enough for them because he wants me to continue to climb, but he says the right things. He says the right things to keep me motivated, to keep me. And same with my mom. I talk to my mom every day, um, and they just say the right things that give me, my wife Cindy, my daughters, everybody. They just give me everything that I need to ensure that I'm on the right path and I stay centered and and focused. So yeah, I think I'm blessed to have all these people in my life that just keep me balanced, man.
What are those right things that they say to you, and how do you know that they're right? What does it feel internally to you?
It feels real. It feels real, it's real easy, to really get distracted, right? You have to be, you know, good with yourself, and those right things is just be a right person, do the right thing. I'm not a saint, I'm not perfect. We all learn, but I think we have to be humble enough to say, hey, that outside of work, just in your personal life, that was the best decision. A turning point for me was like I'm going back to COVID, where I just focused on myself. I was overweight, I was bigger, and then I just turned that energy into going to Big Five and buying weights and working out in my room like crazy, like I was in jail pretty much, and just focus on myself to become a better person. It was eye opening for me, and I turned that pause into something positive, so that I can just focus on myself and do the right thing, and make sure that my wife and my daughters and my family and my parents just keep feeding me, nurturing my heart, right, my mind, and my temple, to just continue that path. And then if something comes our way, which I'm sure at some point is going to come again, we're better prepared. It was alarming for me to just get hit in the way I did, and rebuild yourself, and come back even stronger. So It's just finding happiness, man, fulfilling your pursuit of happiness.
I love what you said about the self-care and the wake-up call for you. I notice pervasive in the industry is that with the hours, with the schedule,
Yeah.
with the pressure and the deadlines, that a lot of people they don't take care of themselves.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's because of how demanding the industry is.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you can find that time to take care of yourself, like you have, Orlando, how does that make you better at your job?
It just you feel better. You feel better, you know. Uh Thank God that even though I was a little bigger, I was 222 pounds. I'm 185 now. No diet, nothing, just working out. I carried a camera and cases to 68 countries around the world, you know, all these sporting events, and I've been a part of, and it always made I was very active. But you hit it right on the spot. We don't eat at our proper hours. When we eat late, and we eat a lot. So, switching into more of a manager role, I started not being as active, carrying equipment around, and I started gaining weight. And but your body gives you what you give it. I don't know if it makes sense. If you took care of it before, it has memory and it'll come back. So there's no excuse. People used to go edit, stories with me back in like South Africa, in the World Cup in South Africa, and I would be editing in my room, and these crazy renders would take 20, 30 minutes, and I would start doing push-ups and sit-ups and squats just out my room in a little corner. So they're like, "Hey, Orly, you're crazy. What are you doing?" I'm like, "You got to be active. We've been sitting for 10 hours, man. Let's get our blood flowing and let's be continuous." So you take advantage here at our office. I go around, beautiful day, take some laps during my lunch break, and just those little changes, taking care of yourself, sleeping, right? And then when you have to force your body to kind of work those crazy 16, 18-hour days and walk up and down stadium 20 times, then your body's prepared for that. But if you don't take the time to feed it and nurture it during these breaks, then it's going to get complicated later. So at least I always, tell people, you know what, just go ahead and do. There's no excuse. 15, 10, 20 minutes. It all makes sense, and it'll add up, and you'll feel better. So to answer your point, you just feel better when you do it. You're more alert. Your clothes fit better. I don't know, it just all your senses kind of awake when you're in better shape.
The the insistence on you being really good at listening to your body is probably sort of like you talked about or this earlier in the conversation. It's like a muscle that you work
Mm,
on. How is your way, or what are your ways of listening to your body in knowing what it doesn't just want, but what it actually needs, and knowing the
yeah,
difference between the wants and the needs?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think everybody's different. Sometimes I wake up and I'm walking to the gym, and I just go back. I'm like, you know what? I'm not feeling it. It's not gonna do anything for me. You got to be connected. It's got to be here. So listening to your body, just listen to your body, just seeing things sometimes, and this happens at work, making that comparison to work. I'm about to write an email that's super important, right? A proposal, something. And I delete it and I delete it and it doesn't come. And then I let it rest, I let it sizzle. And then 2 days later, I come back and I'm like, and it just comes out. Same thing when you're working out, same things when you're walking. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's too cold, or it's hot, or I'm not feeling it, or I slept late last night. Don't do it. Don't do it. Body doesn't know when it's day or night. Just don't do it. Do it when you feel it, so it changes, right? Don't do it when you're not. So same thing with work. Sometimes you got to know when to move. You got to know when you got to just feel it, and sometimes you got to let things fizzle, let it breathe, and then come back and then pour all your knowledge into what you're doing.
And when you're able to do that, you're able to have really cool backdrops in
Yes,
interviews.
exactly. I
Like,
envisioned this last night.
yes, you
I
did.
envisioned this like I said,
Yeah.
oh, it's sports, it's production. Yeah, let me make it nice.
And it has. I think it has to go down as top five, if not the best. And as you know, early, I've had a bunch of people on, but
I know,
the
I know.
way it's been formatted is fantastic. And I don't know if you noticed, but my sign during the
Nice.
interview, it actually fell
Oh,
down.
I saw something fall. I didn't see it.
But this is live television,
It
essentially.
is. We're live.
We just keep going.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
we're just on our games. And as we
yeah.
conclude this conversation, to hear how throughout your journey in the game, how you have fine-tuned your outlook on the industry in a way where you're able to take care of yourself is beautiful. And I
Thank you.
love that.
Thank
The
you.
transformation that you found is inspiring to so many in the industry who can do everything that they're doing, but at the same
Mhm.
time, the onus can go back on themselves and they can focus on how do they make themselves a healthier individual, man. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of this.
No, no, thank you, Brian. I think it's a great project that you have here. At some point, somebody's gonna have to interview you, and I'll raise my hand to interview you because
No.
onto something
Yes.
with Orly Silver
Yes.
as a co. I'll fill in anytime.
Perfect.
And no, you have a beautiful thing here going. Congratulations, keep it going. It's good for the business, and it's good that people just hear these stories. I don't like being in front of the camera, but I'm comfortable chatting with a colleague that's in the business that's respected like yourself, and all the success on your career on this project and on everything. Let's just enjoy the ride.